guys, how's it going? Defensive Architect here, coming to you with a breakdown of my playbook. Now, this breakdown is going to consist of me showing you the plays that I selected and the audibles for each formation that I've selected. All of these plays have a purpose. All of these plays are within the confines of the cover 4 scheme. And I'm going to share with you the reasons why I'm choosing these particular plays. I'll pretty much show you the plays that I have listed first, and then what we're going to do is after that we'll go into the audible package, and we will go over the reasons why those particular plays are in the package, because that's going to have a lot more impact on me describing the scheme than me just showing you a list of plays. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the actual playlist, if you will. So here you're looking at the 3-4 even. Okay, so this is the first formation that I'm going to show you with this list that I've selected here. Now, first we have the pinch buck 0, which is a 0 blitz. Pretty much cover 0, straight man to man. The 3-4 even is a pretty balanced or evened out, which is hence the term even, evened out at the line of scrimmage. So everything is pretty much kind of packed in front of you, and everything is pretty much even and in line with the line of scrimmage. So with this particular formation, I have the pinch buck, the cover 3 cloud, cover 3 sky, Tampa 2, the will fire 3 seam, which is a type of zone blitz, and the cover 1 robber press. Near the bottom, I have the cover 4 down there, and another cover 2 down there. So that's the 3-4 even press, the 3-4 even. The next thing we have is the 3-4 odd. Okay, the 3-4 odd is another one that's kind of is slightly balanced, but one of the outside linebackers are stretched out a little bit more. Okay, also the middle linebacker is pretty much, well, both of the middle linebackers are pretty much right at, they're like right behind the inner shoulder of the right end and the left end. Okay, so they're closer to the line of scrimmage. The outside linebackers are a little bit more spread out, and the middle linebackers are pressed up to the line of scrimmage a little bit more, a little bit closer, and they are probably like right within shoulder distance, maybe lined up right at shoulder length with the outside right and left ends. So that's the description of that particular formation. And the following plays we have for that one is the cover 4 drop, which is just a standard drop, move back pedal, everything's in front of you, and you're pretty much just allowing the quarterback to throw everything underneath while you are just kind of pedaling backwards, and everybody's dropping back. There's no blitzing, there's no cover 3, like none of that stuff. There's no one sitting around, no one creeping or anything like that. You just straight backpedaling, everybody's dropped off, and that's a really good one that cover 4 drop is a really good one to select, because you're pretty much, especially after you've blitzed, you're pretty much just trying to get the quarterback to get the ball off a little bit quicker. So the cover 4 drop is good to try to get the quick game out of the quarterback. Okay, we also got the Tampa 2, which is the middle linebacker, pretty much covering deep middle. Okay, cover 6, cover 1 hole, and then we got some other plays down at the bottom. But those are my primary go-tos here. Again, I'm just kind of showing you a little bit of a listing of what I do have selected. The meat and bones of everything is going to be in the audible section when we talk about the audible packages. Okay, so the 3-4 over ed. Okay, this is pretty much an edge rusher. Okay, a linebacker that will line up like a lineman, so it'll have like a 4-3 look. It'll look like a 4-3, but really it's a 3-4 with an outside linebacker, in gap position. Okay, and you have the other 3 linebackers that are lined up pretty much like 3 middle linebackers. So that's what the overhead looks like. And it's a pretty good formation if you're just trying to do something different, if you're just trying to give a different look. It definitely looks like and resembles a 4-3, but it's really a 3-4. So with this one, we have the cover 1 robber press, Tampa 2, cover 4 quarters. We have the outside linebacker fireman, which is basically the 2. You see those 2 outside linebackers, even though they're kind of in the pressed on the inside, it allows those guys to hit those gaps in between that outside linebacker and the left end. Outside linebacker on one end and the left and the the left end on the other side. So that's what that looks like. I probably butchered that too, but the fireman allows those outside linebackers to get in those gaps. They basically fit those gaps. You also have the cover 1 hole, which is the middle linebacker playing the middle, and they usually play like mid-range. So that's that. Yeah. So we got the overhead. Overhead is really good for a different look. I kind of enjoy running that formation from time to time. So now we also have the 3-4 over, which is basically you overplaying a particular side of the line of scrimmage. Okay, so you'll have, as you can see there, if you look closely, you have like the 2 middle linebackers that are shifted a little bit closer to the left side. Okay, our right, their left. So it's shifted more so to the left side, and it's pretty much an overlap on that side, and that's also a good one. Good for run plays, good for covering the outside. If you can anticipate a team running to a particular side of the field, you can run this 3-4 over, and it'll take care of that. So what we're running here is the cover 1 hole, the sting pinch, the trio sky zone, which is a zone blitz, cover 3 sky, cover 4 quarters, and cover 6. So that's our playbook for that, for the 3-4 over. We also have the 3-4 under, which is basically the other side, which is the overload on the other side. So you have the over and the under. I should probably say that to be more specific, the difference between the over and the over is more of like a strong side emphasis, and the under is more of the weak side emphasis. So, and you could play these either way. I mean, I'm just kind of describing the bare bones of the essence of the formations. So you can run you can run weak side, and you can run strong side with either one of these, but the under is pretty much at its strongest with like weak side blitzes and things of that nature. Okay. So with this one, we're running the pinch buck. We're running the cover 3 sky, cover 6, cover 1 QB spy, which is a spy in the middle, while everyone is running man. Cover 4 quarters and robber 1 robber press. So that's that for the under. Okay. Now for the other formations here. The other formations, actually, the 3-4 formation is good for like pro offenses against pro offenses. Pro offenses meaning, somebody might run a strong or an I formation, or like the single back formation, and things of that nature. Now, if you're playing against formations like trips and bunches and things of that nature, you're going to have to switch things up a little bit, and you're going to have to give a different look. Now, that's easier said than done, because you can get married to certain plays, especially when they start working. It's very difficult as a defensive-minded individual on Madden to kind of mix things up, because it's easy to get married to certain plays, especially when you've been making big plays with them and things of that nature. But you have to learn how to get away from a play and go back to it later. Give them different looks, and sometimes maybe even running, some of these extended formations on run formations and stuff like that, because they might pass out of them and stuff. But the dime here. Okay, with that said, the dime formation is a very flexible formation when you're running a 3-4 package, or like some kind of package like that, because basically with formations like the dime and even the nickel, there are certain formation looks that enables you to move your linebackers around, or to have more linebackers than defensive linemen. And that introduces some different possibilities, some different forms of flexibility, some different forms of approach at the line of scrimmage. So, for example, we're looking at the dime 1-4-6. Now, the 1-4-6 is a 1 defensive lineman, 4 linebackers, and 6 defensive backs. That's what that formation is. So there's a lot of flexibility with this. I personally like running this, the 1-4-6. Whenever I really want to hunker down on certain pass plays and want to even get some interceptions or get some big plays, because you can definitely get some, if you understand what you're doing, you could get some really big plays out of it, because you basically have a lot of quickness out there. You have quickness over the top and underneath. Okay, you got quickness at the line of scrimmage, because you got linebackers in the game as opposed to just a 4-man rush. Okay, that means that you can have exotic blitzes. That means that you can have some pretty good matchups underneath, meaning that you're going to have guys get to the ball a lot faster. You can also get to the quarterback a lot faster, because you're going to be blitzing with linebackers, with defensive backs. So you're going to have a lot of flexibility with that. Now, as far as our list is concerned, I only run a certain amount of plays with this. So what you see here on screen is all I need. So I have the cover 2 sink, I got the cover 3 sky, cover 4 drop, cover 6 press, one of my favorites, and cover 2 man and Tampa 2. So that one is a really good formation. Now another formation that's really good here is the dime 2-3-6. Okay, the dime 2-3-6 is really good. You have 2 defensive linemen, and you have 2 linebackers. 3 linebackers, and you have 6 defensive backs. So the good thing about this particular formation is when you're running passing downs. Okay, on passing downs, you basically have 2 edge rushers. Now, there's a difference between having defensive ends and having edge rushers. Okay, edge rushers are really, really good outside linebackers that can get to the quarterback and outspeed the offensive lineman. They can outrun, outmaneuver an offensive lineman on the edge, and they could get to the quarterback very quickly. Okay, they could get underneath, slip underneath that outside linebacker, and get to that guy. So think about guys like Von Miller. Von Miller knows how to get around that edge really good, and he's an outside linebacker, but he's a tremendous edge rusher. So this is what makes that very useful. This formation is absolutely useful against passing formations and passing downs, because that edge rush is going to flush that quarterback out of the pocket. Now that depending on your game plan and depending on who you're going against, this could actually make this guy break out and run. So just keep that in mind as you are running this formation. And like I always say, you have to learn how to be okay with giving up certain things. If you hear gardening going on in the background or hear some kind of machinery, there's gardening and stuff going on outside. There's guys, with leaf blowers and stuff like that. I just want to make you guys aware of that. The microphone I have is pretty sensitive, and I'll do the best I can to drown that out in post or what have you. But anywho, with the 2-3-6, here's what we're running. We're running the cover 2 sink, cover 3 sky, cover 1 robber, show 2. I like that one as well because it shows that cover 2. Cover 1 QB contain. Okay, really good one. That's just a straight man-to-man, mono play. Buck slant 3. I like running that as it's a zone blitz play, and I like running that from time to time, just in case there's some slants and some stuff going on, especially after you've been running the cover 4 for a while. So that's the 2-3-6. Now we're going to move on to the nickel packages, the nickel plays. The nickel plays are also fun to play, depending on what you're doing. Okay. The nickel formation is also a very vulnerable formation too, especially against the run. Now the other formations that we've been talking about, they're also vulnerable to the run, especially up the middle. Now on the outside, because we have outside rushers and stuff like that, outside edge rushers, we can get to those running backs very quickly. So if they're running to the outside, we could get to them very, very quickly. But the way that I'm running my cover 4 scheme, the middle is very vulnerable. The middle pass and middle runs. Okay, it's very, very, very vulnerable. So you're gonna have to run plays that are dedicated to putting guys in position to jump those plays in the middle. So just keep that in mind here as you're running these formations. So with the nickel packages that I have here, the first one we're going to talk about is the 2-4 double mug. 2-4 double mug is a really dope formation. It basically covers the whole line of scrimmage. Like there are guys like pressed up against the line of scrimmage. I mean, they're damn near like headbutting the linemen. Okay, I mean they're right up on the line of scrimmage. Okay, so I mean as soon as the ball is snapped, they're there. They should be in the backfield like almost immediately. Now the 2-4 double mug, let me explain this. Okay, it's really good for outside stuff. Okay, anything that's being run on the outside is fine, because especially if you are blitzing that nickel back, if you're blitzing the nickel, you're gonna do well. Okay, now the other good thing about this too is that you have outside linebackers. Again, they're like edge rushers. Okay, you have guys on the outside. Those outside linebackers are pressed up on the line of scrimmage. Again, everybody's right at the line of scrimmage, so basically you can confuse the lineman at the line of scrimmage by running plays that drop some of those guys up front back into coverage. So that's the usefulness for this 2-4 double mug. I mean, you can blitz everybody, you can bring the house, or you can only blitz a few individuals and then drop guys back out into the line of scrimmage and stuff like that. Whatever you want to do is fine, but the best use for this is outside situations. Inside is very vulnerable. The seams are extremely vulnerable. So you're going to have to keep that in mind. Now, as far as what we're running here, we got the Tampa 2, the cover 1 hole, the cover 3 sky, and the nickel overload 3, which is one of my most favorite zone blitz plays. So let's go ahead and move on to the nickel 2-4 odd. 2-4 odd. 2-4 odd is very similar to the 2-4 mug, except the two middle linebackers are not pressed up against the line of scrimmage. You have those edge rushers that I mentioned. They are pretty much both on one side. Okay, so you got two middle line, and it turns into an overload basically. Okay, so you have the odd, and as you can see here, you can actually see this on screen. You have pretty much most of the players shifted to one side. So this is really good for those bunch plays, for those spreads and stuff like that, because they are pretty much covering one side of the field. So if they're running trips or triplets or bunches or anything like that, you can run the 2-4 odd. Okay. So with that said, the plays that we have there is the cover 3 cloud, cover 6, 3 buzz sting press, and the cover 3 sky. That's really all I need from that. So that's a really good formation for overloads. Okay, so now we have the 2-4, the nickel 2-4, which is basically just it's the same as the 3-4 even ed. Okay, that's basically what this is, but it's just nickel. So everything is pretty much even at the line of scrimmage. You do have some overload, only because you have two defensive backs on one side. So you got that nickel over there right on the other side there on the right, our left, their right. So it's a really good thing to run here. Again, you got edge rushers, right? You got edge rushers right there on the edges, and you got everything even at the line of scrimmage as well. Okay, so everybody's pretty much just dead center. So the plays that we have here are the cover 2 man, Tampa 2, Overstorm Brave, Silver Shoot Pinch, Buck Slant 3, one of my other favorite zone blitzes, cover 3 sky, and the cover 4 quarters. Okay, so if you want to keep things in front of you, keep them even, then this is the formation you'll want to run. Okay, so we also have the nickel 3-3. Okay, and this is basically a standard, three linebackers and 3 defensive linemen. Okay, so because you got that extra DB in there, so it's not a 3-4 because that DB's in there, that nickel back. So in these in this formation, we have these plays here, which is the cover 2 man, Tampa 2, and the nickel blitz 0, and that's all I really need for that. And that pretty much concludes the play segment for this particular segment here. Now we're going to go into the audible packages, and I'm really excited about the audibles. So first, let's go ahead and get into the 3-4 even audibles. Okay, so we're going to start with the 3-4 plays here. So as you can see here on the right hand side, these are basically, this is the playbook, by the way. It's not so much about the plays that you're initially selecting. The plays you're initially selecting are just setups. Either you're using it to set them up to, with that look. So if you show them the cover 4 a few times and you run it a few times with them, what should happen is you should now go to your catalog of audibles. Okay, now you have to turn to your audible packages, and you now have to switch things up on them. And when you audible into one of these other plays, it is counteracting what you're anticipating them to counter with. Okay, That's what the audibles are for. The audibles are for counters. The audibles are not for just random stuff. Okay, it's not just for random plays. It's not for your favorite plays and all this kind of stuff. It's for a very designated purpose. So with that said, let me break down why I'm running each of these audibles here. Okay. Let me explain something. When you have the cover 4 in your package and you run that over and over and over again, here's what happens, okay? You're vulnerable to plays underneath. So you're vulnerable to flats. You're vulnerable to stick routes, out routes, corner hitches, outside hitches. You're vulnerable to curls. You're vulnerable to out routes, vulnerable to in routes, vulnerable to slants, vulnerable to screen plays. Okay, there's a lot. I can go on and on. You're vulnerable to runs up the middle. You're vulnerable to draws, okay, to draw plays, and all that stuff. Okay, so with all of these, and we'll get into the other audibles that I do have, but with any of these audibles, all of these audibles that you're going to see are counter plays to what you may anticipate. Okay, you're not going to be 100% accurate. Okay, but you just need to base your audibles on the formations they have, and base your audibles on the potential plays that they may run based on the offensive formations you see. Okay, so and this isn't as hard as it sounds. Okay, I'm not trying to make this sound all extra complicated. Okay, it's very easy actually. So let me give you an example here. So with the 3-4 even, right? These plays, the cover 1 robber press. Okay, the reason why I chose that one is because you see the position of those defensive backs. They are already in quarters position. Okay, they already have the quarters look. Okay, so they're already in that spot. They're already sitting right in front of even position in front of the receivers, and in front of the formation as a whole too, actually. And if you run the cover 4, what happens is those guys just draw back. They're just backpedaling. Okay, they're covering everything deep. That's their job. So when you switch up on them, first of all, you switch to man. Okay, so now they're playing man on the outside. On the inside, you got one guy who is cheating in the middle. Okay, because the cover 4 is very vulnerable to a lot of those post routes, dig routes. Okay, post routes, dig routes. That when they run those deep digs against the cover 4, you want to have a guy ready there in the middle, and that's what that cover 1. That's what the cover 1 press does, and that's why I selected that. Okay, because you want one of those safeties to cover that middle every now and then, especially if you are playing against a team that does like to do that a lot. So when you see teams doing that and they run that play on you a few times, okay, switch up on them and run that cover 1 robber press, right? So you'll audible to that the next time. The next play, pinch buck 0, basically a cover 0. Now this is a very delicate play to audible to. Okay, you need to be very sure about one of two things. You need to be very sure about the fact that they may run some curls and some hitches, and if they are going to run the ball, specifically if they're going to run down the middle, or they're going to run like a trap play or some kind of zone run or something. The pinch buck 0 is a good play. Now is it gonna stuff the guy and have him lose 3 yards on a carry? Maybe not. If you have very fast linebackers, it could happen. Okay, if you have linebackers not necessarily fast, but if they can beat their man, if they can beat those linemen and get to the ball carrier, then maybe. But it really is like a type of containment. Okay, the pinch buck is more so of a type of containment than anything else. You're going downhill. It's not exactly literally a containment play, but you are going downhill. But you're covering a lot of bases. You got two edge rushers. Just two guys on the edge blitzing, outside linebackers. You got one inside linebacker blitzing, okay, and you got the other one playing man to man. Basically, they're shadowing the running back. Okay, so you got one guy shadowing, and everybody else is basically blitzing. Everybody else, the other DBs are playing straight up man to man, so it's mano y mano. But you're leaving the middle open, you're leaving the outsides open, you're leaving a lot of things open. So if you can't get to that quarterback, or if you can't get to that running back in time, they will break off and make a big play. So the pinch buck is a very delicate play. You got to know what you're running with that. The cover 3 sky underneath that, basically, if you run the cover 4 enough, you see how this looks. They're already kind of lined up. So you see that cover 3, you got 3 guys already going deep, but you got a couple of guys who are cheating. But you got one DB that's cheating down below, and that's the free safety. So the free safety is cheating below. The outside linebacker is playing that curl route, and then you got the rest of the guys playing hooks. So they are playing the middle, and they're trying to contain their space. So the cover 3 sky is really useful to audible to if you are playing against like bunches or trips or some kind of spread and things of that nature. Now it sounds counterintuitive, but and it is actually, because with spreads and trips, it's very easy to believe that they're just going to break away and go vertical. But a lot of times they got one guy, he's just sitting on a curl or sitting on a hitch, and he's just sitting there. Now, we do want him to go to that guy, of course, but every now and then, you want to be sure and switch up on these teams so that you can have an opportunity to make a play, make some kind of play, bat down or a tackle or even a turnover, create a turnover. So that's the whole point. Now, these particular plays work even better if you can get to the quarterback. If you're running cover 4 and you're only rushing 4 guys, 3 linemen and 1 linebacker, 1 edge rusher, if you can get to that quarterback fast enough and make him uncomfortable, that's when they start running those small plays. They start playing the quick game. They start playing the those little short routes and stuff, and playing the West Coast stuff, West Coast offense. And that's where the Tampa 2 comes in. Tampa 2 is a really, really, really useful. It actually is the staple counteract play to the cover 4. It's the staple play. So Tampa 2, or any kind of cover 2, is actually a tremendous counter and a tremendous opposite of the cover 4, because it's literally covering everything underneath. Okay, so you're covering 2, and what I mean by that is, if you're used to playing a team that loves passing to flats and loves passing to those curls and those hitches and stuff, a lot of those guys in that Tampa 2, they're going to play that, and they're going to react to that very quickly. Okay, so again, you don't want to run this too often. You don't want to keep running this, because you're trying to show teams that you're not giving up anything over the top whatsoever. So as long as you keep that going and keep giving up a little bit and taking a little bit, next thing you know, you audible to that Tampa 2, and then you might get a pick 6 out of that very easily. Same thing with the cover 6 too. So that's the 3-4 even. I'm sorry. Okay, so we also have the 3-4 odd, right? So the 3-4 odd, I just have a Tampa 2 there, because it's the 3-4 odd. If you can see, I'm not sure if you can see this. Maybe you need to kind of go full screen or something. But the Tampa 2 on the 3-4 odd almost looks like a type of it almost looks like a overload. Okay. It's now the odd again. It's like the inside linebackers are a little bit closer to the line of scrimmage. The one of the edge rushers or one of the outside linebackers are out a little bit further out, away from line of scrimmage, and you have one edge rusher. Okay, so if you look at this, it looks kind of like an overload play, or like looks kind of like it resembles like a cover six, except the only difference is usually one of these outside corners would run a quarter coverage. So they would run quarters. One of them would run quarters, and the others would run would cover the middle and cover the outside of the other side. So instead of that, you just have like an overload cover two, and the outside corners are playing the flats instead of one of them playing deep. So I know that was an earful and a mouthful, but that's kind of what I get, why I've selected that as a standalone. I don't really need anything else because I have the other formations with other plays that I can go to, but that's that. So the next thing is the 3-4 over. Okay, so we have the 3-4 over, and pretty much the concepts are the same. Okay, with the only little minor differences are, for example, the cover one hole, you have a middle linebacker playing the middle, and you have a safety playing man. Okay, this particular one gets a little bit iffy and gets a little dicey, only because you're very vulnerable to those slants. Okay, very vulnerable to those slants. Your linebackers are very vulnerable as well. I may only run this if a team is like run heavy. If a team is very run heavy, I may run cover one hole every now and then, because you have the safety that will, since the safety goes man, they go man to man. They creep up to the line of scrimmage, and usually that safety is playing a tight end, or playing the line, or playing the running back. Excuse me, or they're playing the running backs. So the point is that one of those safeties are going to creep up to the line of scrimmage, and they are so they are playing the run game, but we are playing the pass just in case. Okay, so that's pretty much one of the probably the truest value of the cover one hole is that. But you don't want to run any kind of cover one just willy-nilly or just any kind of way. Okay, the saw blitz one, again, it's a cover one concept, meaning that everybody's playing man to man. Pretty much everybody's matched up. The only difference is that you got two edge rushers coming in. So you got two edge rushers converging on the pocket. So they are pretty much just, it's like a 5-man jailbreak. Pretty much you got 5 blitzers coming in. Well, 2 blitzers and 3 linemen basically. So that's what that looks like. Now you may not want to run this against a trip spread, or you don't want to run this like on a 2-by-1, which is two wide receivers on one side and one wide receiver on the other side, because that can spell trouble, because you got middle linebackers playing man to man. So you may want to run this on jumbo formations. You may want to run this on I formations and stuff like that. The cover 3 sky is what it is. Pretty much it's a variation of a counter to the cover 4, just in case you want them to play. You want your defense to play underneath and such. Now the cover 2 invert is an interesting one, because this also reminds me of a type of cover 6. It just kind of reminds me of that. You have a safety playing the flat. You have an outside. You have the corner who is going to play deep in his place. So usually in a regular cover two, you got that safety playing deep on the deep outside, okay. But instead, he's playing the flat, and the corner is playing deep. Period. So they're covering. It's not really a quarter, but it's like, they're covering a radius of the field. So in other words, you need to be very sure that potentially a team can play underneath. A team is going to play underneath, or they're going to run something underneath, and you're just anticipating it. But cover two invert is not something you want to run all the time. Now I have gotten a couple of picks. I've gotten a few picks off of the cover two invert, but that's only because I've managed to set up the defense a certain way to put them in position to succeed. So that's pretty much what that is there. Now the cover, the 3-4 overhead, pretty much an even formation. I have the cover one hole, the outside linebacker fireman, and the Tampa 2 is my audible packages for that. If I want to play the offense straight matched, then I'll run the overhead, and I will make sure that everything is kind of in front of them. Okay, so those like I said before, the outside linebacker is in position, so he's pretty much in a gap stance, and he's prepared to play the edge rush. Okay, and it's a really good one. Like I said, it's a really good formation if you want to get to the quarterback very quickly. I think it's best suited in other formations like the dime and a nickel because of the passing downs. Okay, but if you are playing in regular run downs, which is like the first two downs, usually those are run downs. Unless they are kind of playing they're running end arounds, or they're running outside runs and stuff like that, and towards that linebacker, mind you, maybe you'd be able to play this formation, but it is a good blitzing formation, I will say that, which is why I have the outside linebacker fireman, because it is a really good blitzing formation. I mean, you can get to the line of scrimmage fairly quickly with the overhead, and so it's a really good one. But Tampa 2, pretty standard. Again, if you want that edge rush, you can run this Tampa 2, and I will reiterate, run those cover 4. If you're going to run this cover 4 scheme, you got to make sure that you run the cover 4. Otherwise these audibles pretty much won't work. I think with the videos that you've seen so far, when I've gotten away from my process, when I've gotten away from my cover 4 stuff, I think you've seen what happens. Okay, especially the games I lost. It's very easy to get away from your scheme if you're being moved and dictated by the offense. Okay, you got to make sure that you are the aggressor and you're the one making them adjust, not the other way around. Okay, so with that said, you need to understand that with any of these formations here, it's going to be bad news if you don't run that cover 4. If that's your scheme, if you don't run that scheme, these other things may not work as well. Okay, so with 3-4 under, all right, which is the opposite of the over, obviously. Again, it's pretty much more of a weak side kind of formation. The over is more of a strong side formation. So with that said, if you want to, now I think if a team is running a pro offense a lot, and you want, but you're in a passing down and stuff like that, or you are in a passing situation, I should say, then you can run this under and you can have the guys rush on the weak side, and you can have that edge rusher attack the quarterback on the weak side. And again, as you're running that cover four, if a guy's coming on weak side, you can flush that quarterback out. That may not be a good idea if it's Lamar Jackson, for example, but hey, that's something you can do. Nonetheless, if you have that edge rusher, he's going to be able to wreak havoc on the outside and make that quarterback run a little bit. And because of that, that's going to introduce other opportunities. So maybe you'll run that cover one hole if they're running, like if you anticipate them running curls and hitches and stuff like that. The pinch buck is included in there, and the cover three sky. Now here, the cover three sky is really useful here in this particular type of formation because of that edge rusher. You can force the quarterback to get the ball off very quickly, and that can create turnover opportunities. The cover two invert, once again, that's there. Now this looks more like a standard cover two, unlike the other cover two inverts that we went over. This one looks like, the safety is literally coming down to play the flat, literally, because it's that light blue. So that corner is playing deep, and he's covering that deep outside. So pretty much it's like a quarter. I mean, but the outside guy is pretty much playing a quarter. I mean, that's pretty much what he's playing. He's covering a radius, but it's his initial back pedal pretty much is like a quarter. So that's that there, guys. Now we're going to go over the extended formations, which in my opinion, in my estimation, these are probably the most fun formations to play if you're just trying to have a little bit of fun, especially after you have wreaked havoc on a team. You can start running these particular formations, and these audibles are very lovely here. Very lovely. Now again, running these, even in these particular formations, you're going to have to run the cover four quite often. Okay, if I had to put it in percentages, you need to run the cover four like 65-70% of the game. Okay, that's just what you need to do, and you need to be prepared to give up some things so that you can get that pick you want, okay, for you to get that turnover that you're looking for. And in order for you to get that turnover you're looking for, you need to trick them a little bit. And when you're running a formation like the dime 1-4-6, which is basically one defensive lineman and 4 linebackers and 6 DBs, you are now introducing some pretty good opportunity. Now this cover 2 man that I tend to audible to every now and then, I will audible to the cover 2 man if it's some kind of spread look. If it's a spread, I'll just play mono e mono. It'll just be one-on-one. Okay. If it's some kind of bunches or some other kind of thing, I will run the cover 3 sky that you see at the bottom. Okay. And that cover 2 sink, pretty much that is the variation to the cover 2 man. So maybe I'll give them that man-to-man look. And then I will quickly audible, maybe at the very last second, quickly audible to that cover 2 sink, and then see what happens from there. But again, that cover 4, I can't stress enough. If you're gonna run this, if you're gonna run what I'm talking about and run this particular format and run this package, you gotta run the cover 4. I can't stress it enough. It's easy to get away from it, but you really got to do it. You got to find it in yourself to be consistent. So this other one with the dime 2-3-6, again, we got the man-to-man. The 2-3-6, basically, we have the, I don't know if you can see, for example, the cover 2 man. If you look closely, the defensive back is in the middle of the field. The defensive back, there's a defensive back position right where the linebacker would be. Okay. So you got 2 defensive linemen and you got 3 linebackers. and you got 6 defensive backs with a dime defender literally in the middle of the field. So you have the dime defender who was right behind the line of scrimmage. Now this is a very run vulnerable formation, so keep that in mind. But it is overload heavy, so you're going to be leaning towards one side of the field, and while you're opening up the other side of the field for one-on-one opportunities. Okay, so the cover 6 invert, that one I really like, because you see that the safety is moving in. It's similar to the it's basically a cover 2 and cover, it's like a cover 2 invert and a cover 4 at the same time, pretty much. So that's basically what this is, and it's a really good go-to audible play. Really nice. So the next thing we're going to move on to is the nickel 2-4 double mug, which is a really good one. I'll move a little bit quicker here. We're 50 minutes in. The first audible we have here is the cover 1 hole, and then the second audible is the cover 3 sky, and Tampa 2 is the third one. This is like a sporadic formation, so it looks really widespread, especially on the field. It looks much wider than it is on the field, so those seams may be a little bit vulnerable. So just keep that in mind when you're running the double mug. And then we have the nickel 2-4, which is 2 linebackers. I'm sorry, two two defensive linemen and 4 linebackers. Okay, and the 2-4 basically bunches up the line of scrimmage. Okay, it bunches up the line of scrimmage, and you have a lot of opportunities there, especially against the run. Now I will say this is a good formation against the run, especially as you see there that audible silver shoot pinch. If you anticipate a run, okay, then you can do a quick audible. Now the thing is with this particular formation, it is an overload formation because of that nickel back. Okay, so that nickel back is covering much of that inside area. So that means that the other side, which only pretty much has a defensive end and a cornerback as your on your weak side. Okay, so that's what we are vulnerable to, is that outside. So if they run a play on the outside, on the weak side, it's going to be very vulnerable. However, if you're doing what you're supposed to do with the cover 4, there's some tremendous opportunity. Fantastic opportunity down below, down below underneath, and you can get a lot of playmakers to get in position underneath when you're running this. Again, it's a type of overload because of that nickel, so just keep that in mind. But it's a really good formation here, and that cover 3 sky is killer, especially if you want to overload. Now when I say overload, you can overload the weak side too. You can leave the strong side open. I've done that a couple of times and have gotten big plays out of the weak side, but that's not something you want to run all the time. Okay, it's something you want to run every now and again. Okay, but the 2-4 is 2-4 standard. I tend to call it is a really good one. And these audibles are fantastic. So if you're trying to get to the running back fairly quickly and you're trying to get some outside leverage, that silver shoot pinch is a really good one. That cover 1 hole that you see above, again, if you know that they're going to run a hitch or run some curls, especially when you've been running that cover 4, you've been blitzing every now and then, there tends to be a tendency for the offense to run that, run those curls and run those things. So especially those inside plays and stuff like that, which is what the cover 1 hole would take care of. So the last thing we're going to talk about here is the 3-3, the nickel 3-3. So nickel 3-3, the cover 2 drop is a very, very interesting one. Okay, the cover 2 drop. First of all, the 3-3 is 3 linebackers and 3 defensive linemen. So you got 3 linebackers on the field. You got 1 nickel back on the field. Okay, so again, it's an overload. The nickel period is an overload formation. Okay, let me just kind of put that out there because I keep saying that. I keep talking about overload, and the nickel formation period is an overload formation because you are literally you have a nickel back, a defensive back, literally covering one side of the field. Okay, well, I'm sorry, they're dead smack in the middle of the action, pretty much. They're covering that seam area. Let's just keep it simple. They're covering the seam area, so it's like they're covering the seams. But the weak side is very vulnerable, so it's more so geared towards, like, you know, those spread formations, those trips, those bunches, all that stuff. Okay, but if not that, then yeah, you're pretty much leaving yourself vulnerable for different things. You don't want to run this against a pro formation. Because against a pro offense, which is like, you know, they're running jumbos and a lot of run formations, a lot of, you know, multiple tight ends. You don't want to necessarily play this against that or play any kind of nickel against that, because if they run and they run to the weak side, it's pretty much going to be a big gain, or they could take off for a touchdown. So you want to keep that in mind when running nickel period. But the 3-3, as you see here right now, with all that said, the 3-3 is very loaded. It's very one side heavy. And you have the cover 2 drop is an interesting one because it's literally covering one side of the field. And you need to be very sure about, when I say sure, I'm just saying you need to anticipate that there's a high probability or chance that they're going to run a some kind of inside route, drag route, you know, shallows. What else? If they're going to run screens, if they're going, you know, things of that nature. Okay, you need to be very sure about that, because you actually leave yourself very, very vulnerable on the weak side, and you're only rushing 3 with the cover 2 drop. You're only rushing 3 linemen. So if that nose tackle can't beat a double team, but basically if you don't have Aaron Donald down there, you know, you need to find a way to not even find a way. I'm sorry. You need to just anticipate that they're going to run something very distinct, and it's pretty much going to have to be a formation or a formation that triggers that anticipation. Okay, so if they've been running a particular play on you on a particular formation, then you got to know, like, that thing's coming back, and the cover 2 drop. You know, you need to be sure about that. So you need to play this against you know, curls. Play this against drags. You don't want to play this against digs, a dig route, which is like a long inside route. Okay, so which is like a deep inside route. You don't want to run this with deep outside routes either. Okay, because they're going to basically cover that seam area. Or not seam, but they're going to cover that special spot, that little special sweet spot area, which is between the cornerback and the safety, because the safety's going deep, and that corner is playing mid-level down to the bottom. So you want to make sure that down below towards the line of scrimmage. So that corner has to make a decision, and that linebacker is basically playing the seams. Okay, so you're leaving a lot open there. So you don't want to run the cover 2 drop a lot, but it is effective. I will say that when it's ran at the right moment, it's very effective. Now the cover 3 drop, a little, you could get a little bit more out of that than the cover two, because you got the guys on the outside are basically playing quarters. You got a guy, in the middle playing the middle, and then you got the nickel playing the flat or playing the curl route, and you got the safety playing a curl route, the strong safety. So it's a much stronger play to audible to. But again, I have to stress this again. You're gonna have to make sure you play that cover four. If you don't play that cover four a few times, it doesn't matter what you run. You can run either one of these two, and you're gonna get beat because they're just simply reading and reacting. Okay, but if they see you playing that cover four a lot, or if you show that cover four pre-snap a lot, then you're gonna have some fun. Pretty much, you're gonna have you some fun down below at the line of scrimmage. You're gonna have you some fun in that mid range to get you a few picks, or get some coverage sacks and things of that nature. But yeah, so that's my playbook, guys. I know I ran a little bit long. We're exactly on an hour in, and yeah, I appreciate you guys for lasting this long, and we're going to have some fun this season, and we're going to display all these plays, or a good number of these plays, in games. So you're going to be able to see these plays in action in the games as I play them in real time. So yep, get ready, folks, and I hope that as you build your team, that you build successful teams, and that you're building good defensive teams. So with that said, until next time, Defensive Architect is signing out. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe, and see you next time. See you later.